and welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It is Thursday, November 9th. We are here live from the Convention Center in Chattanooga. Final day of the F3, the FreightWaves Future of Freight Conference. Some awesome speakers today, so I'm going to kind of do a recap of the event. You know, I talked on Monday about the impact that the NASTC conference had on me. Great conference. So glad I was there. When I left the NASTC conference, I really wanted to go hide someplace, park on a lake, and just chill for about a week. That obviously didn't happen, and I decided to just push through and come down and do this conference. I wasn't expecting a whole lot. This conference is about the future of freight. It's a lot of technology stuff at the fleet and broker level. So I was mostly coming just to meet some people I knew were going to be here, some old friends, some people I had been wanting to meet for a while. And I was able to do that. I ran into some people I didn't expect to see. An old friend from the early days of OPS. He's working at a brokerage now, so that was really enjoyable to see him. Totally shocked. Didn't know he was going to be here. Haven't talked to him in years. Great guy, though. So, and then there were some people I was really looking forward to meeting, some people in the industry. You're going to be hearing more about that. Some people I want to collaborate with. Some people who do similar stuff to what I do, and I've been watching them for a while, and I'm pretty impressed. And we'll be talking about that. I want to collaborate with some people on that and expand what we do there. One of the books that I've been recommending since it came out, and I read it when it first came out, I've been recommending it ever since, was a book called Never Split the Difference. It's all about negotiations. It's written by an ex-FBI negotiator, so this guy has negotiated it when life is on the line. And the book he wrote is just fantastic. It's called Never Split the Difference. I didn't realize he was going to be here. I almost missed him. Luckily, Brent came out this morning and said, Brent Hutto from truckstop.com came out and said, hey, I really want to go in and see this speaker. And I said, who is it? And he said, Chris Voss. And I said, well, that name sounds familiar. Why do I know that? And he said, oh, he's doing something. He's an ex-FBI hostage negotiator. And I said, oh, yeah, that's it. He wrote the book, Never Split the Difference. So I caught it. It was fantastic. Excellent presentation. I really want to get him on the show. So we're going to work on that. Unfortunately, he had to walk off stage and head back to the airport and get on a plane. So I didn't have a lot of time to talk to him. But I'm really going to try to get him on the show. I think it would be a great show. There are some really specific questions I want him to help us with. He talks, obviously, a lot about negotiations at every level. But I want to get him, thinking about the negotiations you guys go through and how we could improve those. And he's just got some amazing material and great answers. I could go on and on, just like last week. The people I've met, come on in. Yeah, in fact, one of those guys just walked in, Adam Wingfield. If you have not heard of Adam, you need to. Adam and I might be twins, in the way we think, at least, right? Hey, Adam, could I get you to do me a favor? So I wasn't prepared to have guests on the show. I didn't think I was going to be hanging around so many cool people, but we could fix that pretty quickly. Could you call in and talk to me? Let me give you the number, 855-950-3835. And if there's going to be a weird delay, it won't bother me because of my headset. If it bothers you, you could just step right outside. But in fact, I'd love to, as soon as your call comes in, Brittany, if you could just kind of send that call through, and I'll pick him up, and we'll a little hack here on having guests on the show today. I wasn't prepared with a second headset. So we'll get Adam in here in a second. I want you to meet Adam. I have a feeling him and I are going to be doing more things soon here. So we'll get to the calls in a couple minutes, I promise. In fact, if Adam's willing, maybe we'll tag team some calls, get a second perspective on some things. So Great conference. I'm so glad I came. A lot of good things happened. A lot of things we were already working on. We were heading in this direction, and I met a lot of people and made a lot of connections that are going to help us do that. Let me refresh here because I think Adam's supposed to be live. Oh, Adam, are you there?
I'm here.
Ah, fantastic. Any problems with the delay? Is it working okay for you?
They work totally fine.
All right. So the first thing I'd like you to do is introduce yourself. If people don't know who you are, tell them what you're all about.
Yeah, my name is Adam. I'm the founder of Innovative Logistics Group and Innovative Logistics University. I'm a former company driver turned owner operator turned fleet owner turned educator. I've been in the space. 2024 will mark my 24th year in the space. I've seen tons of success, but most of that success is fueled by a lot of failure and heartbreak. And my goal and my objective in this industry is to leave it in a better place than I found it back in 2000. Back in 2000, when I started as in this, it was antiquated. It was a lot of pain. It was a lot of folks that didn't have the resources and educational tools that they needed to be successful. And my goal is to help change the culture and the landscape and dynamic of the industry by providing a platform with education and also making connections to where we can actually make a difference.
Yeah, I don't want to make this sound weird or anything, but I'm wondering where you've been all my life.
We talk the same language. We talk the exact same language, and I love your content on Twitter. I'll never forget the first time I started looking over the content. I'm like, man, we're spirit animals of each other, man. We're talking the same language. We're attempting to correct the same issues, and we have the same vision, and that's for the betterment of the industry at the small carrier level. Because without the small carrier, there wouldn't be an industry.
Yeah, absolutely. We all know the statistic that it's the small carriers that move the majority of the freight. And I've always said, and I think you agree with this, that if we teach a single truck owner operator how to be really efficient, that nobody should be able to move freight more efficiently than that guy. He's got all the skin in the game. He's right there, at that level to solve problems, and we all know how many problems come up when we're trying to move freight. I think that if we want to make improvements in this industry and improvements in efficiency, we've got to help those guys become better. And it's not that hard. The things you and I teach are really simple. We just have to reach more. So when I saw your material and how good it is, I said, I've got to work with this guy. We could use 10 more of us to do this.
It is so great and to hear hear that message, because at the end of the day, you said a very, very good point. It's very simple, but it's breaking down those barriers and those walls of trust that really is the barrier of the connection that we need. And our only objective, man, is to help folks. And if the thing is that you see so many people lose so much. I've seen people lose families, lose homes, lose cars, lose trucks, lose everything, just for a simple fact of not knowing. And you and I, off air had that conversation. We were just talking about that one particular owner operator didn't know his numbers, but was losing almost 50 cents a mile just because of that simple fact that he didn't understand. And that stuff adds up over time. And what we want to do is just focus on those little small common denominators that we can help them build on, understanding those variable and those fixed costs. Understand what your cost per hour is. Understand what your profit per hour is. Those things are so important, yet there are so many folks that want to focus on other things that fear the whole focusing direction our owner operators and our fleet owners should have. And it's unfortunate. It really is.
What you're talking about there is what I would call mindset. And that's one of the first things I try to figure out is, how do we influence somebody's mindset? How do we get them out of that mindset that seems so prevalent in the owner-operator world, that everybody's out to get them, and all of their problems are somebody else's fault, and they get stuck in that mode. And one of the first things we have to do is just get them out of that mode. And you talked about trust and build that trust with them and get them to see, look, If you could listen for a little bit, maybe we can give you another way of thinking. Here's one of the other reasons why I'm excited for the possibility of us working together going forward. Over the years, and I have to believe you hear this as well, people will say, the detractors, the haters, you think your way is the only way. That's not the only way. I've tried some of your stuff. It doesn't work in my operation, or some version of that over and over. You think your way is the only way. Well, my way is my way. It's not the only way, but it's my way, and it works. I've proven it works. It's very effective. You and I are saying the same message. The basics of how you succeed in any business are really all the same. Even the tactics we would use as owner-operators are all very, very similar. At their base level, they're going to be the same things, but you can sometimes present that in a different way. And sometimes we would both have the same strategies. We probably have different tactics on how we get there. And I think that's one of the things that can really help us all educate and make this part of the industry better by having different options. Again, people listen to me and go, well, that's the only way. That's all you ever talk about. You talk about this, and that's right, I do. It works, and it's my way. And I say over and over, it's not the only way. If you've got another way, please share it with me. And I think that's what we're going to find, that you and I are really almost identical in our mission and our strategies, and I'll bet we have some tactics we could learn from each other, and people could learn from the both of us.
No, I totally agree. And it's like you came from Oregon, right?
Yeah.
There are probably 30 different ways to get to Chattanooga. Right?
That's right.
The way you came is the way you came, right? That's the way you came. That's the best way in your opinion. And there's nothing wrong with that. But ultimately, the destination is the same. And from an owner-operator perspective, as long as you're provided with different options that make sense and that are real factual, that can help support you and get you where you need to go, then it's cool to have different. And like you said, your way may not work. My way, it may not be as comfortable for you. You might not want to go through the mountain ranges 3 and 4 times. It's up to you. But at the end of the day, the only thing that I care about more than anything else is taking these failure rates. These failure rates of when you get an owner-operator that gets an authority, and 2 years later they go out of business. The only thing that I care about is lowering that. Anything else is just propaganda and noise to me. Let's come up with solutions, actionable solutions as an industry to help these folks, because it's only going to make the industry better. It'll elevate the level of professional in the industry. It'll elevate the level of profitability and acumen. Those are the things that are most important to me and my team. And we run that heavily. And the potential and possibility of working together would be endless, because we're teaching the same message. Going from Oregon and Chattanooga, however, we might go a different way. You might come up from the southern side when you come up from the northwest side. So at the end of the day, the message is the same. But yeah, absolutely. And it just pains my heart when we see that there is still such sporadic, truthful, just pointless education to help folks just kind of navigate through the down cycles and navigate through the up cycles as well.
Absolutely. It's not very often that I meet somebody that I click so quickly with, and I'm sure it's because we've had that same path. The only difference really in our path in this industry is I didn't start as a company driver. I had that weird situation where day one I was an owner operator, and I've told my story many times. I almost failed a couple of times. I was close to bankruptcy. I made a statement this morning on my show. I was trying some new technology on the fly. We're still trying to solve some issues so that we can do what we do better. And I said, I'm just going to do this live. If it doesn't work, I'll connect the old way and we'll move on. But one of the things I believe is I learn far more from my failures than anything else. And I'm not afraid to fail. I'm not even afraid to have the failure public like it was this morning. It's not that big of a deal. Once I figured out that I learn a lot when I screw something up. A lot of times you start something new and you get lucky and things work. Well, if that's what happened, you learn nothing. You just got lucky. It worked, but you didn't learn anything. So one of my sayings is fail fast and fail often. This morning, my failure only took me about 2.5 minutes. Uh-oh. Adam, did we lose you?
I'm sorry, I just cut out. I'm sorry.
Oh, there you are.
No, that's absolutely right. And the one thing perspective, right? Coming from a company driver perspective, I learned so much in the beginning because I'm an observer. I observed how they manage and mandated fuel planning and trip planning. I observed how they were so particular on speed controls and things of that nature. And I wondered to myself, this company here has produced success. So maybe if you follow some of the steps you learn here and duplicate them, you can duplicate the success as well. And so I use every element and every level that I have been on to learn. And if some of the stuff worked, some of the stuff didn't work, some of the stuff was applicable, some of it wasn't. But at the end of the day, the one thing that I learned more importantly is that creating and establishing my business first and being so focused on the business side on it, you got to wear multiple hats. There's times when you got to wear the CFO hat, you got to be a COO, you got to be the CEO. But at any time that you wear those hats, you got to do your best at every single level in your own organization. Because one of the things I joke around with is that when we have, for instance, we deal with fleets, which we would consider maybe a little large, 100, 150, 200 trucks or whatever. And I always, when we're going through and we're doing these breakdowns and these case studies and analysis with our companies, and there are times where I'll sit down with the CEO or the founder of that particular company, and there'll be times where we're having that conversation, and I'm having that conversation with Kevin, and I say, hey, Kevin, you know what? As a CEO of this company, if I was in the board of directors, I probably would have fired you by now. And a lot of times that hits home because we forget about when we don't realize that as an owner operator and as a fleet owner or whatever, you don't have that level of accountability. You don't have anybody telling you what to do. You don't have anybody, you call all the shots and you call the last shot. And you don't have that spirit animal of being prudent, of doing the things that you don't like to do. And, just like we just had the off-channel conversation, you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like you said, Kevin. You got to be uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. I mean, you might not be good at accounting and you might not be good at math or numbers or whatever. But you got to be comfortable with doing stuff that's uncomfortable because that's the stuff that's going to keep you in business.
We had this with talk, and it was, 15 or 20 minutes. It went so fast, and so many ideas were coming out. And you said something along those lines about the hard work, not working hard. Look, I tell people, don't misunderstand me when I make this comparison. Working hard is a given. You have to work hard. To succeed in business, there's no other option. But it's not enough. It's not even close to enough. And what I talk about is you have to do the hard work. I actually end every one of my shows with that phrase. You have to do the hard work. And what we were talking about is getting people to understand what that means, because a lot of people will respond to me and go, you don't know how hard I work. And I'll stop them and say, no, I do know how hard you work, and it's not enough. And here's the thing. If you want that hard work, if you want the working so hard to pay off, you have to do the hard work. Otherwise, you're just going to struggle your whole life. And 30 years from now, you're going to be working just as hard and you won't be anywhere. But if you can turn that switch and start doing the hard work, the things that make you uncomfortable. And when people go, well, what is the hard work? And one of my clues is, it's probably the one thing you don't want to do right now, but you should. And I think you and I have that same mindset, and we were even almost saying it the exact same way. Uh-oh, Adam, you're breaking up somewhere.
Sorry about that. No, you're exactly right. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we're talking the same music. We're talking the same music, Kevin. From the moment I saw the content that you were posting, how you go through and educate, talking about numbers, talking about fuel efficiency, understanding how that impacts you. Because at the end of the day, if you look at it, your average tractor trailer is going to require about 14,000 to 15,000 gallons of diesel fuel every year. You've got to purchase about 15,000 gallons of diesel fuel as a rule. And if you think about that from a numbers perspective on how important it is that every single station selection matters, right? Every time I select diesel fuel, it matters. Every mile per gallon that I gain or I lose, it matters. I got 15,000 gallons every year in every truck that I'm responsible for purchasing. All of that stuff matters. And if we get the business side down to that level, that's when that difference is being made.
Fantastic. Hey, yeah, I know I kind of put you on the spot here. We just met about a half hour ago, and I got you on the air already, and I absolutely love it. I am excited about this connection. I almost skipped this conference. I was really tired from last week, and I've got some more things I have to go do. And I thought, you know what, I need to be there. Um, and sometimes I believe in divine intervention and things happen for a reason. And when we do the hard work, and I got to tell you, being down here for me this time was the hard work. It was the one thing I didn't want to do this week. I wanted to go park the coach out by a lake and relax and give my mind a break. And for some reason, my intuition was saying, you know what, just suck it up. Sure, it's hard, but so what? Hard stuff is good stuff, and this is the way it pays off.
That's right. That's right. The uncomfortable with uncomfortable, man. And, at the end of the day, man, it's the hard stuff that, people don't see. People see the championships from, your great sports teams, right? They see the championships from the Patriots. They see the championships, the Lakers and things like that. But they don't see the practices behind the scenes, the 4 a.m.s, the 3 a.m.s. All that stuff doesn't get the credit because it's all hard. And if you do the hard stuff, man, that's what makes the difference. And, it's funny, just, my last point is Alex with Mother Trucker on stage. He talked about he was posting content for 7 years and nobody will watch it. 7 years. Nobody will watch the content. Now he said he had between 10 to 15 million people viewing his content a month. But for 7 years, he had nobody watching it. You know how many people would give up? You know how many people would just throw their hands up and say, you know what? You got to believe in yourself, though. You got to believe in yourself. You got to continue doing the hard stuff. And there's no overnight success.
Yeah.
Overnight success.
That's it.
It is your microwave success, right?
Absolutely.
Just because you buy a truck, there's no entitlement.
You're not entitled. Oh, boy, I was going to say, don't get me started on that because that's a huge pet peeve of mine. But
that's another rabbit hole.
You and I are going to talk about that. There's no doubt. I do want to go back to Alex, though, because I met Alex for the first time as well. Yeah, and here's the crazy thing about our world today. I don't know if I could be any more plugged into the trucking industry than I am. It's what I do all day long. It's what I've always done all day long. And yet, here's this guy with like 500,000 followers on YouTube, and I had never heard of him. And he's out there. And when I did hear of him, before I got a chance to meet him, I went and checked out his content. And I'm thinking, this guy must have like 3 or 4 other people helping him with all this content. And it turns out it's him. What a workhorse. This guy knows how to put in the hard work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he does the hard stuff. And it pays off now. And he talked about the t-shirt line and things like that. But people just see the 15 to 20 million views, though, Kevin. People just see the social media, the guy. They don't see the fact that, hey, in his eyes or in somebody else's eyes, posting content every day for 7 years may have been a failure because you have not been able to see the level of success. But you on internal, you have to take that as an opportunity to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to keep grinding. I'm going to keep grinding because your grind set will determine your mindset.
Oh.
And that's the thing that you got to continue. You got to keep grinding.
There was a little nugget of wisdom there. I love that one. That's one you'll remember. I got to say that learning his story, there's a big lesson I could learn from him. I do a lot of the hard work, but there's some stuff that makes me really uncomfortable. And I'll tell you one of them, what it is. If I put out content and it doesn't get interacted with, I'm almost crushed. Like, what did I do wrong? Why doesn't somebody like that? And then I tend to not put out content, or I go find another audience or something. And I can give up pretty easily on stuff like that. I don't like rejection. Most of us don't. And I think about somebody who posted and posted and posted 7 years. I can't imagine 7 days of rejection.
7 years. But you know what? But that shows the consistency that's needed. And that's the entrepreneurial journey, man. Everybody's journey is different. It took him 7 years. It might take the next person to replicate it 17 years.
Yeah.
And what's for you is for you at the end of the day. You said entrepreneurship is not for everybody. All right. I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, and I'm not being Mr. Negative or Negative Nancy, whatever you want to call it, but it's true. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody. It's for the people that are able to do the hard work. It's for the people that understand the consistency that's necessary behind it. Now, if your mindset is not there in the beginning, that does not mean that you can't change it, right? Because you got to learn how to be a successful entrepreneur, right? Nobody's born an entrepreneur. You weren't born an entrepreneur.
Right.
You learn the behaviors of entrepreneurship that created success. And a lot of those behaviors were not learned behind a desk. They were learned in real life application failures, hitting the notices of your bank account going low, and that's where you learn. But at the end of the day, what I've realized is that whole entrepreneurial journey within our industry has to be articulated better.
Yes.
It has to be articulated better. And our folks, our owner-ops, they need to understand the journey.
You know, I was just thinking about when you were saying that, one of the things I used to be really uncomfortable with, and it dawned on me that I had to get better because it was so important. And it comes back to this issue of being an owner-operator is not for everybody. Being in business is not for everybody. And this is such a unique business with its own challenges. And I had to get comfortable. You know, before, I'm a really positive, upbeat guy. I want to help everybody. And if somebody comes to me and they say they really want to be an owner operator, sometimes I used to encourage people I probably shouldn't have been encouraging. And I realized I needed to stop that. And I had to be comfortable with just telling somebody, this isn't for you. And I know enough to know when I've met somebody. Now, it's not to say they can't change, and I always give them that opportunity. But I tell them, if this is the way you're approaching this business and being in business, you just shouldn't do it at all. You don't, and a lot of people don't understand how much damage and destruction comes from a failed business attempt. It ruins lives. I've seen marriages lost. I've seen careers lost over it. People get out of the industry completely. So I don't want to see that happen, but that was one of those things. It was not easy for me to tell somebody that bluntly that right now that this really is not for you.
But again, that goes back to the point. That's the hard stuff.
Yeah.
It needs to be said.
Yeah.
And it's nothing wrong with coming back to it at some other point. But maybe right now is not the time, and you probably save people more by being honest. You save people more by telling them the truth and telling them the things that they just don't necessarily want to hear.
Yeah, I had a great example of this. I had a guy call in. He wanted my help. He was really struggling. I went through his numbers. We got his accounting together. I went through his numbers, kind of made it a little project on the air. And he would call back every day. I'd give him some homework. He'd call back. And at one point, like 4 or 5 days into this, I actually said, I think I got this figured out. You just need to hang up the keys now before it gets worse. You're not going to make it. And he said, what? Why do you think that? And I said, I'm not hearing that killer instinct I need to hear. You're very lackadaisical about all of this. And, in good times, you were doing okay. In bad times, you're going to get crushed. The numbers are so bad right now that I'm struggling to come up with a way out of this for you. But I want to try. But I don't feel like you're at that same level. I feel like I'm trying harder to save your business than you are. And I told him he should probably just quit. And you know what? He came back and proved me wrong. He started doing everything he needed to do. And this was within a day. But I felt that shift. I really think by being so blunt with him and telling him what I thought the problem was, the way I saw it, that I think you and I talked about this word. He was ignorant of what he needed to make it. But all he just needed to be shown. And that quickly, he changed. And we can all change our attitude in a heartbeat. It's one of the easiest things to change. You have total control over what you think. And he did it. And that was one of those where I had written him off. I thought he was done. And now I'm even more committed to helping him.
Your attitude and not your aptitude determines your altitude. And the fact that you stood there and stood in the line of fire and told him, hey, listen, this may not be the best for you. That might have sparked something within his attitude to determine his altitude. And that's why it's just so important that mindset is one of the things that are focused on, especially when it comes down to this phase. And even me, when I mentor folks, that's the first thing that we address is the mindset, because it's a battle. You know, entrepreneurship is a battle. It's a tug of war. It's going to be some good times, but it's going to be a lot of bad times. But you're defined from that. But you're being honest with people. That's what needs to happen, because there's so much dishonesty and there's so much stuff out here that nobody knows where to come from. Nobody knows how to be honest with people anymore. You just got to be direct.
I love it. Adam, I know that you were up on stage today. You killed it. I heard a lot of people say they wanted to talk to you and they wanted to meet you. So I want to let you get on with your day. I know it's important to have this many people around. But I got to tell you, I am really excited about continuing this conversation.
Likewise, I sure am too. I can't wait to connect further on it. I appreciate you bringing me on your platform and being able to kind of speak a little bit. Love what you're doing as well, and looking forward to see what the future holds together with us.
Fantastic. What time do you have to leave today?
Actually, right now.
Okay.
Right now.
Okay. I was going to say, I hope we had a chance to catch up a little bit before you go, but we will. Great talking to you. I'm so glad I got a chance to meet you, and safe travels. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks. Safe travels to you as well. All right. Bye.
All right. So we got the phone system back up and working. I didn't make the breakthrough I thought I had made, but we're going to get to the calls. A lot of stuff I could talk about. We've got a lot of calls, and I want to get to them. Let's go to Terrence in South Carolina. Terrence, welcome.
What's up, Kev? Sounds like you're making a lot of connections on this trip.
I've been going.
I can hear it in your voice, the enthusiasm.
I've been going to these kind of conferences for years and years. I took a little break through COVID, and then I got to the point where I wasn't sure I wanted to go back to them anymore. And I'm glad I pushed through on this one. I honestly have probably made better connections in the last 2 weeks than a long, long period of time. Something was meant to be on this trip.
Nice. Great. So I got a couple of things, but my question about the coaching thing on that. So you're going to do like financial stuff too with that, like this personal finances?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, I'm going to sign up for that. Definitely. Just an update on my fiance. So we went yesterday to the thing, and they're going to start chemo again on the 27th. They should have started before, a month, 3 weeks after, but that falls on Thanksgiving, so they're closed. But then they're going to do some immunal stuff too with it. I forget what it was called, but it's not good. And she probably got about 12 a year or so.
Oh,
but
man,
I'm having an issue with the house because I can't, I got to get, I put a lot of money into it, and it's set, it may seem, I don't care what anyone thinks. It may seem like that's all I'm looking out for. I'm not, but I can't make her sell it to me, and she doesn't want, yeah.
One of the, I want to help you any way I can through this. One of the things I heard there, and I know we all think this way. Don't worry about what anybody else thinks on how you handle this. This is all you. I can't imagine what you've got on your mind, because all of those things are real. We can say, oh, well, why are you thinking about that? Well, you have to think about that. All of those things are real. It is, and it's twice as hard because of the emotions you're going through. So, just forget what anybody else thinks about this. You've got to do this your way, and really anything I can help you with.
I appreciate it. I'll let you get, like I said, you got the conferences and all that, and I'll reach out to you like next week or something.
Yeah, next week is a great time because really I'm always busy, but I've got a month where, I'm just kind of wandering around in between stuff. So I'm actually As much as I would really love to just go home right now, this is part of the hard work again. It makes more sense for me to stay in the eastern part of the country for the next month with everything I've got. So I'm going to use that time to the best of my ability, because when I'm at home, there's a lot of other things I want to be doing and could be doing. When I'm out here, I might as well just work. I might as well just work all day and half the night, because what else do I have to do?
True.
So please call me next week. Reach out to me and let's talk.
Okay. I appreciate that.
All right.
I'll let you get on with the thing. And thanks for all you do, man. You really helped me with this.
Good.
I thank you for it.
You're welcome. Take care, and let's talk soon. Let's go to Ohio. John, welcome to the program.
Hi. So I finally made my mind up that I'm going to kick this PPI habit. I've been 20 years on the PPI. The last 4 years, it's actually been twice a day. So 2 40-milligram tablets twice a day. And I'm just tired of it.
Ooh.
So I started it. Before I started it, I just went down to 1 tablet. And then I started your protocol. And I bought the Betaine, or if I'm saying that right, plus HP2, because I just thought I'm probably going to need that.
Yeah, Betaine.
Betaine, okay. So I've been doing it now for 4 days, and I've been pretty good. I'm a little bit of heartburn, but not nothing I can't deal with. But my question is when do I start, and how do I use the Betaine Plus? It's not really in the protocol for anything like telling me what to do with it.
So you do have our PPI protocol and you're following it, but you're just wondering how to use the Betaine.
Yes.
Okay.
Down the road, I guess, when you do that challenge, it talks about after a couple weeks.
Yeah. So, and let me, the challenge isn't perfect. It's one of those tools that most of the time helps us. And I would even say up to about 20% of the time, it just doesn't work at all. And here's why. And I was actually an example of this when I was learning this stuff. We had to practice on ourselves. For some reason, there are some people. So here, let me explain the way you do it, and then I'll explain why sometimes it doesn't work. So what we do is you're going to sit down to a meal, and you want it to be a good sized meal, like the biggest meal you would eat in a regular day. So sit down to a full meal, and right before you start eating, you take just take 1 Betaine. And wait a little bit and see if you feel anything in your stomach. And what we're looking to feel is some warmth. You know, even maybe a little burn. We're dropping hydrochloric acid into our stomach. You want to feel a little warmth or burn. If you don't feel it at 1, we wait 4 or 5 minutes. We do it again. We take another one. And then if we don't feel it, we keep taking another one. And when it works, when you get to that number and all of a sudden you start to feel that warmth, that kind of tells us how weak your stomach acid is. And it also tells us how much you're going to need to have good digestion. When I tried this, I was up to like 13 and I wasn't feeling anything. And I said, well, this is kind of crazy. And I just ignored it. Over the years, we've just learned for some reason this doesn't work with some people.
Okay, but are you talking like if I decide to do that challenge thing, you take the Betaine with all the other?
No, if you want to do the challenge, you just take the Betaine at that moment. So some of the
challenge isn't necessary.
No, it's not necessary. And one of the reasons I say it's not necessary is there's some people it just doesn't work and it confuses them then. So it's a tool. It's a tool we normally use when we're working more one-on-one directly with somebody and we can kind of guide them. But we put it in the protocol and we thought we'll let people try it and see what happens. But then when it doesn't work, they get really confused. So I don't really push that challenge as much as I used to. It's one of the things we've learned. Maybe we shouldn't even do it at all. Maybe we just go through with the protocol, and the challenge is, are your symptoms getting better over time?
Okay, so that I then buy the betaine, I'm not going to be using it? Or?
No, in your case, I would take 2 or 3 or 4 with the meal. It will help your digestion. And if you feel something, if you take it, yeah, well, so some of those nutrients you can take whenever. Like some of them are just, we're getting nutrients into your body with some of these supplements that are going to improve your digestion in multiple ways. And some of those can just be taken whenever. The betaine specifically you take when you eat. So, and look, I have really good digestion these days. I've been working on it for a lot of years. If I sit down and I'm hungry and I know I'm going to, polish off about 16 ounces of ribeye and 3 eggs and some guacamole, I'm taking some betaine. That much protein is hard for anybody to digest. And I might take 1. Just a little bit of help to digest, and I noticed that my digestion works a little better. So yeah, use the betaine. You certainly didn't waste your money. I just wouldn't worry about the challenge.
Okay, so should I start then adding this betaine in now?
When you eat, yeah, you can. Well, yeah.
The rest of the stuff?
Yep, and then just see how well it works for you.
Because the HCl, isn't that hydrochloric acid also? Isn't that the acid also?
We have multiple products that have HCl in them because it is such a boost to digestion, but there's different amounts. Some of our products, it's in there, it's in a really small amount, and it kind of works as a cofactor. Some of our other products are pretty high potent, and we use that directly when you eat to help with digestion.
Okay. So I'm not exactly sure, but I just bought the kit. Whatever you had that was in the PPI kit that I bought.
Yep. And then
I added that betaine in, like I said.
Right. And that's why I was addressing the betaine itself, because you already bought it. So let's use it. And that's the way you would use it, is you would use it as a digestive aid right when you eat, and you can kind of start playing around with the amounts. And the way to think of it is the acid is really going to help you digest protein primarily. It's going to help with all digestion, but it really takes a lot of good, strong stomach acid to break down proteins. So if you've got a protein-heavy meal, you might find that you take 3 or 4. And it feels better. You feel your digestion is better. And that's kind of how you're going to guide yourself through this.
Okay. Because I do eat a little bit of vegetables and stuff like that, but I mostly just eat meat and eggs and
and here's one of the things we realized early on, that is the best diet for the rest of your health by far. I'm completely convinced of it, even more so now that I've been eating pretty strict carnivore for the last couple weeks, and I really like it. But we also realize that is the hardest macro to digest. It really takes a lot of good, strong stomach acid to digest protein. And if you've been on PPIs, you don't have good, strong stomach acid. We've got to build that back.
So at the end of this month, when I'm done with this, with the first PPI kit, I guess, if I start feeling heartburn and, I don't know, regurgitation of the acid or whatever, I should start another kit?
Yeah, that's usually our best advice.
Okay.
The worst case scenario I've seen, we had to take somebody through 3 kits. The other option that you always have for more intense one-on-one, where we can take more time and dig deeper, would be the group coaching.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to try this on my own first. Perfect. And then I guess if I can't get it after the second one, I guess I'll be calling up again.
Sounds good.
More advice.
All right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Bye. Let's go to New Jersey. Fred, welcome.
Hey, Kevin. Good to talk to you.
What's on your mind today?
Well, I've been seeing a lot of the freight waves, the F3 there, so I'm glad you guys had a good time down there. Is it over today?
It is. I'll be pulling out of here, well, probably in about an hour.
I got you. I got you. Well, I got some discouraging news with my mother-in-law. She doesn't want my help. She, I told her what I would help her with. She talked to her doctors. Doctor says, well, it can't hurt, but she just wants. So they had her on a roller coaster ride for digestion with Pepto-Bismol and Imodium.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me!
No, and these are the doctors she has around her. So she's either exploding or she's constipated, and now she's in the hospital because she has blood in her stool.
Oh,
so it pains. I want to go to these offices and put them in prison because
I know it's criminal.
It pains me. This woman, it is, and so and I talked to her husband, my father-in-law, and these are my parents now. My parents have been gone for a while, and they treat me like a son, and I want to cry. And I sat with her and she's telling me these stories. And I said, I can fix you.
Yeah.
Let me help you. We'll sit down with your doctors. I am not trying to hide anything. I'm not talking about your medications that you're on. I will sit down with them. We will go through step by step. And she just refuses to.
That's the hardest thing we deal with. It really is. That one hurts me every time because I believe in human nature. I believe we're all basically good. We all want to help people. And this is such an important area. And it's easy to help people when you have some of this information, and we all want to. And it's, it's the one thing we don't have control over. We can't control the response of the other people. And it's so frustrating. And you can help them. And yet this is what you run into.
Yeah, and I told her, I said, what we have to do is, she says, what are you going to do? I said, well, you have to listen to me. You can't listen to 17 people. I said, but we'll sit down with the doctors and we'll talk to them first so they understand what we're doing.
Perfect,
and,
right.
That's what I told her. I'm like, I'm not telling you don't listen to your doctors ever. I'm just saying, you'll sit with them. I want to explain to them what I'm doing and show them what I'm doing so you can listen to me for a little while.
You know what? And that's not easy to make that offer to have to go head to head with a doctor on this stuff, because that's what's going to happen. I mean, I've dealt with these guys and they will look right at you. Seriously, I've had doctors look right at me and sarcastically say, so where did you go to medical school? And my answer is, the reason I can help people is because I didn't go to medical school. That's the whole reason I can help them. They don't want to hear that, though. Many doctors have a God complex. Exactly. Yeah. That's right. So, I'm sorry you had to deal with that. It sucks. It sucks that your mother-in-law could be healthier, but she's not going to be. She's going to get worse, and we know it. And it's really hard to deal with. So, sorry you had to deal with it.
She has this Crohn's. She has this Crohn's going on in her intestinal tract, and I know this is all correctable, Kevin. I don't know much about Crohn's.
It's absolutely correctable, but here's what's going to happen. At some point, I can make the prediction right now. At some point, they're going to take part of her colon out.
Yeah.
That's where this leads. They're going to...
The sad thing about this... Go ahead.
Does she have any other autoimmune conditions that she's taking medication for?
I can't get heads or tails of all the medications. Like I've said in the past, my father-in-law and her have half the kitchen table full of medications that we take. They're still recommended baby aspirin, Kevin.
I know. Even the medical community doesn't recommend those anymore. But here's the crazy thing. They've proven this over and over and over. Once the medical community has proven that something was either wrong or we have a better way of doing it. Once it's proven, it will take 10 years before it is a widespread practice in the medical community. That's just awful.
Yeah, so that's where but this is you want to hear the craziness about this. This woman's in the hospital. My wife goes up to visit her, and she's on her deathbed. But when one of the nurses and one of the aides comes in, she perks right up and she's joking with him. It's like she's She's a center of attention. I don't know if this is just psychological.
Some of it is.
I don't know what it is. Like she called me yesterday morning. Was it yesterday? Today's what, Thursday? Yeah, she called me yesterday morning to find out who won in the elections locally because I'm involved in that. Like, this is what's mine. She's in the hospital, worried about who got elected and what bills passed.
Oh boy,
so it's a sick dynamic.
It is.
But I'd like to talk to you next time, not this time, but I want to talk to you about politics and about things that I'm getting involved in and things that I'd like to bounce off you and just some ideas. But also, I also wanted to reach out, and my heart's breaking for Terrence. Terrence, if you need a soundboard, you need someone to listen, you need someone to talk to, you need anything, please DM me and I'll give you my number. You can call me. We'll chat. I'll just listen. Whatever you need, Terrence, I'm here for you too. It's heartbreaking to go through this.
It's what I love about the tribe. I thank you for that.
Yeah,
that's a tough one. Hey, go ahead.
I was procrastinating all week because I've been having so much fun with my grandkids that I'm on my way down to Texas again in my pickup truck to go back to work after a month and a half. So.
Oh, fun. Yeah. It's always a tough transit. Yeah. So I had, speaking of health, it's like today has turned into a second destination day this week, which is all right. That's what free-for-alls are for, finding out what's on everybody's mind. I had an interesting encounter yesterday about health here at the conference. So this young man, I can say that now because I'm an old man. This young man walks up to me, really sharp, well-dressed, very fit, I could tell. He's excited, he's eager, and he said, I keep hearing from everybody that you do a lot of health with truck drivers. And I said, I do. And I could offer him a little bit of advice. He probably, once he heard who I was, he probably should have gone and looked up my material because it wouldn't have taken him long, and I doubt he would have introduced himself to me at all had he. So here's how it went. He starts off with, I hear you're the guy, you do a lot of health with truck drivers. I want to tell you what's going on with me. He said, I'm a physical therapist by training. And he said, so now I know he's got a traditional medical training background. So I'm already on guard a little bit. And he says, I had like 3 truck drivers come in, new cases, all in the same day. And he said, it kind of opened my eyes. So I started looking and I realized how unhealthy truck drivers are. And I congratulated him. You're absolutely right. So he said, I went back to school to become a nutritionist. I didn't ask him what program. He's like, yeah, I know. So I said, oh, good. I said, so I didn't say anything at that point. I just kept talking to him. And it didn't take long for all the red flags to show up. And here was the sentence where the entire conversation went sideways. I heard him say, we work with these guys on diabetes management and hypertension management and obesity management. And I said, how the hell do you manage obesity? You're either fat or you're not. But what do you mean manage obesity? That doesn't even make sense to me. And I said, and what do you mean manage diabetes? Why would you manage diabetes? I cure it every day. And his eyes got big and he was shocked and he didn't know what to say. But I'll give him some credit. He hung in there. So then we got off on some food ideas and I heard another phrase. He said, well, we just have to help these guys stay away from calorie-dense foods. So now I know he's pushing the low-fat, low-calorie model. And I said, stop right there. I said, the most calorie-dense food there is fat. And these guys need to be eating a lot more of it. I said, every human being needs to eat a lot more fat. We've got to get over our fat phobia because low fat has killed more people than anything else I can think of. And at that point, I think I had overloaded his circuitry, and he looked at me and said something like, it's nice to meet you, and he walked away. So at first I was excited. We've got people.
It challenges beliefs.
Yeah, and at first I was excited. We've got people that are actually in the industry trying to help truck drivers. And unfortunately, now I will do everything I can to either get him to understand how to do this right, or I will do everything I can to tell other people not to listen to somebody like that.
Right. And that's we got to do it one person at a time. X and all the other social medias are a good place to start to get generalized in there and get some conversations. But we're still there where we're yelling at one another. We're not listening to one another yet. So hopefully that'll change eventually.
We've got some ideas. Spaces are coming back next week. I know.
I've been in a lot of them politically and stuff.
It's a great tool. I hope it keeps getting better. And I will have to say that at this conference specifically, that is the single most common thing I've heard when people walk up and introduce themselves and shake our hands. The next thing out of their mouth is, when are you bringing Spaces back?
Kevin, it's been such a bridge for me, hooking up with people and getting to meet people. And I mean, I was actually talking to Congressman Matt Gaetz last week. I mean,
That's
it's
awesome.
amazing.
It is.
Amazing what the reach that you can have.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It is definitely such an awesome tool, and I think the conservative-minded people are still being somewhat throttled on X. I don't think Elon Musk has worked all the bugs out, but we're still getting voices out, and I think with the health spaces we may get a little pushback and maybe a little throttled if we get too loud, but that's okay. We could just keep moving forward, I think.
Absolutely.
I'm happy that you said that. That's an awesome thing. I always love to interject where I can, and hopefully don't overstep my boundaries there. But
if you're not crossing the line once in a while, you have no idea where the line is.
Yeah, well, I said in the States this morning, I'm going to hurt some people's feelings here, but this is my opinion.
There you go. Warn them ahead of time, but here it comes. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, listen, it's a pleasure talking to you today. Sorry I missed you guys. I wanted to leave on Monday and get down there and hang out a day, but I had too much fun with my grandson's going to be a year old Thanksgiving, and his personality is just amazing.
There you go.
My granddaughter's 4, and she has me wrapped around her pinky, so I love it.
Enjoy it. Hey, Fred, great talking to you. We'll talk to you again soon. We've got a couple more calls, and I've got a little bit of time today. I know it's noon. I said I was only going to do an hour, but we are not doing rolling toe today, so I can take a little more time here. I do want to make sure I get to say goodbye to, and yeah, I want to make sure I say goodbye to a couple people, and there's at least one more connection I still want to make. But I've got time. Before I get to the next couple of calls, I want to remind people, group coaching is launching today at 3 o'clock. Now, we have some technology issues I need to work out. I didn't expect to be on the road when I was doing this first call. When I left, I was not planning on that. I didn't bring some things with me that may have helped, but we'll pull it off. It might just be a little bumpy at the beginning. The other thing I'll tell you about today is really just launching the program and helping people understand what it is and how to get the most out of it. I also want to let you know that this is coaching. It's not teaching. So if you're used to Zoom calls where I have a whole program outlined and I talk for 45 minutes and then open it up for questions, that's not how coaching works. With coaching, I want to get right to people's specific problems and start helping them troubleshoot and fix those problems. It doesn't make any sense for me to come in and talk about metabolic syndrome when there's 7 people there that have problems that aren't metabolic syndrome. And even if they were, they've already heard a lot of the other stuff. This is also, we could call it the advanced program. I've been asked a lot of times, whether it's business or money or health, we've been through your programs, but where's the advanced program? And at first I tried writing it, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't write an advanced program. I'm a pretty smart guy. I know how to do this stuff. But no matter how hard I tried, I'd look at the material and go, that's just not valuable. That's not going to help anybody. And it took me a long time to realize you can't write an advanced program for this stuff. Because once we get past the basics, then everything becomes very specific to each individual situation. And to try to teach a concept and then apply it to 10 different situations, I'd end up with the Encyclopedia Britannica, and nobody would be able to benefit from it. That's how this program was developed. It's not a teaching well, it is you're going to learn a lot. But you're going to learn by watching me and listening to me troubleshoot very specific problems. So and we'll talk a lot more about that today. In fact, that's probably all we'll do in the coaching call today. Is just kind of go over the basics. Now, I will take questions, absolutely, today. But we don't have all the homework done right now. You know, if I'm going to help somebody, I need NutriQs and food journals, and I'll explain all that to you later today. But I want to remind people that we are launching the coaching program today. There is still time to sign up. If you sign up today, you're going to get the $52 a month program, which is lifetime as long as you stay in the program. So and you can come in and out of this program anytime you want. There are no contracts. There are no long-term deals. If you want to be in the program, you can be. If you want to stop, you can stop. But on that special, which is a killer special, $52 a month, you got to stay in the program to keep that price. If you drop out and come back, you're more than welcome to come back, but you would come back at the regular price of $72 a month. And I got to tell you, now that I know, you get both coaching programs for that price. This is the deal of the century. This is there is a tremendous amount of value in that investment, and it's not a whole lot of money. I'm going to get to some calls. Let's go to Tennessee. Ilya, welcome to the program.
Morning, Kevin. How's it going?
Good. What can I help you with today?
I was calling actually because I finally tried the fat digestion kit. From listening to all the calls, I've noticed like I was having basically like the generic fat digestion problems, and I was doing like carnivore and keto.
Okay.
And so it worked. It worked for me pretty well. Probably like I'd say like a week and a half, and like it was like the whole problem was gone basically.
Excellent.
And I finished the protocol, and that was maybe I think in September. But what I noticed now was like one of the main ways I knew like I was fully in keto, like for example, like if I maybe ate too much of something that maybe kicked me out of keto, the way I knew I was back in keto was if like the cramps started, you know, like the leg cramps or whatever.
Right.
So the thing I noticed now was I don't remember the last time I had a cramp like with my legs at all.
Awesome.
And the only thing that changed was I did the fat digestion kit.
Yeah, so, you know, we need nutrients to fix problems, and you're eating the nutrients, but if we don't digest them, it's like you didn't eat them. So when we help digestion, you do see a lot of other things improve.
Yeah, that was like I don't know, no matter how many electrolytes I drank, no matter how much water I drank, everything, like I would get cramps like multiple times a day. And now I was just like, wait a minute, I don't remember the last time I had a cramp at all. I was like, wow. And like I eat the same thing every week. So that was literally the only thing that changed.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. I'm glad it's working for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to say thank you about that. That was awesome for both of them, actually. And then last thing, I just wanted to add on there. I was listening to a business show the other day. And this girl, she had like a company she bought when she was younger. It was eggcartons.com. And she said this line, like it wasn't really part of anything, but she said this line and I like caught onto it. And I thought you'd enjoy this line that she said. She said, America became great, not with equality, but with freedom and opportunity. And that was like, wow, that kind of relates to everything going on now.
So profound. Absolutely. And I say, here's the problem. What they're trying to push on us now with all the inclusivity and all the other woke bullshit, they are trying to create equal outcomes. That is a horrible approach. What we want, and to go along with what she said, what made this country great were equal opportunities, not equal outcomes. You can never create equal outcomes, and you will destroy human spirit even trying. I don't even understand that idea. We're never going to have equal outcomes. How could we? We're all different people. We're all going to put in different effort. We have different thoughts, and let's take it to a ridiculous extreme. I mean, if I could be anything, I would love to be able to sing and play an instrument so well that people would pay to come see me. I want to be a rock star. You know what? It's never going to happen. I'm ugly and I can't sing. So how do you create an equal outcome for me when there's somebody out there that has incredible amounts of talent and they work to develop it, and I think I should just be able to step in and get the same reward they got? But that's what we're pushing for here. Mm-hmm. That's what all this is trying to do, and any intelligent human being should look at that and be terrified.
Yeah. And even like the other group of people like complaining about the rates and everything that like want automatic profit and all that, like it relates to all of that.
It's the exact same thing across all of these issues, but that is why this whole thought process is so dangerous. Look, if I really wanted to be a rock star, I have the same opportunity everybody else had. I could go hire a voice coach. I could learn how to play an instrument. I could put in all those hours. The odds are I still wouldn't make it. I might be, playing the lounge at a Holiday Inn somewhere, but so what? I had the opportunity. That's all I ask for. And that's all any of us should want. And the reason that's such a wonderful thing is because in many parts of the world, you don't have those equal opportunities.
Yeah, I'm like lived like kind of that exact scenario. I don't know if you remember talking to me about like the restaurants, how I came out of the restaurant industry a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And how that applies to the trucking and everything. So I originally went to like basically like the Ivy League of culinary schools in upstate New York, and it took me CIA. 4 years. Like Yeah. We started with.
I wanted to go there, one, because I love cooking, but two, I thought it would be cool to tell people when I meet them, I went to the CIA.
Yeah, it was crazy. A lot of the chefs, they're like out of the Army and everything. My class, we started with, I think, 205 people. By the time I graduated, there was like a little bit over 30 left. All the other ones didn't make it. And then...
Wow.
Yeah. And so by the time I graduated, like I had to do like all the internships and externships and stages and all that stuff, a lot of which was for free. By the time I like worked my way up and got into management, that's when they were starting the whole like $15 minimum wage thing. And I'm like, I just got the 15 an hour minimum wage, like for management. And these people are getting that for like dishwashing. I'm like, it was the most annoying thing ever. It took me like years to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, great stuff. I'm glad things are working for you. Once you get your digestion working right, a lot of things start to fall into place.
Yeah. All right, Kevin, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Great talking to you. Let's head north of the border. Lucky in Toronto. Welcome.
Hey, Kevin. How you doing?
Good. What's on your mind today?
Good. I've been off the road for about 4 months, and I just had a health issue with my daughter. She's 16 years old, and she basically started having anxiety and panic attacks.
Okay.
And she's also hearing voices in her head, basically saying suicidal thoughts, suicidal things.
Let me ask you something real quick. Has she been prescribed anything for this yet?
That's what I was going to get at with you. Well, the mainstream medical system has been popping drugs in her left, right, and center. And half of the time, she looks like a zombie. And basically, I'm off the road and the truck's parked, and she's basically looking at me like I feel like I'm a burden on you. And it's just so much going through her head. And what I'm trying to do is just get her diet right, get her exercise, but nothing's really working out right now. And I was just wondering what kind of advice you can give for me.
I can give you a lot of advice right now, and I will. But I also I want to offer you this.
Because Kevin, you changed my life. I started eating right, and I started getting myself right, and I listened to you religiously. And these last 4 months have been the craziest time of my life. I never thought my biggest challenge in my life is going to be trying to keep my kid alive. So
let me, and I will give you some advice today before we hang up, but I also want to make this offer to you. I want to give you and your daughter a scholarship into my group health coaching program.
Mm-hmm.
If she's willing to do that, and even if she isn't right now, if you are, I want you to be my guest in that program. And I'll give you 3 months at no charge, and we could do a lot of good in 3 months. If you and your daughter are willing to do that, or if just you want to come in and learn as much as you can, it would be much more effective if you could get her in on the calls with me, and I will work with her directly.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons I asked about the medications is there is some evidence. Do you know which drug she's on?
She was on fluoxetine, and then now she's on fluoxetine for anxiety, depression, and they had a little bit of for the voices in her head. They're giving her risperidone and Seroquel.
Oh boy!
And so basically, that's
stuff.
where we're at.
She's on some heavy duty stuff.
I know. I can tell she's just zoned out sometimes, and I keep trying to tell her that, hey, look, when finances is not your problem, that's my job. You got to get yourself right, and I'm here with you.
And right now, as far as my help with this, don't worry about the money. It's not going to cost you anything.
I'm not.
Yeah, no, I know.
I say finances. I'm just. What I'm saying is that, what are finances if something happens to my kid? That's not. It's just that every little thing feels like she's a burden on me. Yeah, and then I lost my job. Now I'm driving Uber just to make ends meet, and that's all. I'm just kind of taking every little thing negative.
So here's one of the reasons some outside help can be really powerful. I can throughout the coaching, I can work in those things that if I tell her you're not a burden to your father, he's your father. I think she'll receive it differently than if you're telling her. So there's just one more thing I may be able to help her with. Can you remember roughly when the first time they prescribed something to her?
This all started in July. So it was basically in July, yeah.
So the reason I'm focused on this, there is some evidence that there are certain mental health drugs that I had a really hard time believing this, but there's some evidence out there. It's hard to find because they keep this kind of stuff buried. But there's some evidence that some mental health drugs change your brain chemistry with just one dose, and some of those changes aren't reversible. So, and the longer you're on those drugs, the more your brain chemistry changes, and the harder and harder it is to reverse. SSRIs are some of the worst. I don't think any of the three she's on or that you mentioned are SSRIs. I'm going to look all three of them up to be sure. So it's good that she's early into this. I can give you I want to say guarantee, but I'm not going to quite push that far. But I can promise you this is very, very fixable. I have seen some incredible results around this with just diet. No counseling, no drugs. I have seen some incredible results.
Diet is junk.
No, I know.
Like,
I'm sure. You didn't have to tell me that because that's all. That's the only reason a 16-year-old is struggling with all this. I don't even need to be told that. I know what it is, and I know how bad her diet has to be because her symptoms are so bad. And that's the good news, though. Our job is just to build some trust with her so that she's willing to try our way. And if she does, I can tell you we can fix this. I have no doubt whatsoever. I used to not be so confident on mental health issues. I've studied it a lot. I follow some doctors who specialize this, and they are traditional doctors, but they have learned a better way. And I follow them, and I have seen the results they get from this, and I've worked with people. So the good news is here, she's young. She hasn't been on these drugs a long time, and we could turn this around and fix it, and it will be life-changing for her.
Kevin, you know what? That's what I'm looking for. I've looked at everything, took her to church, did different things, taken her to our temple. I'm Punjabi, so I took her to our temple. I started praying every morning. And it's just that every now and then she has 3 or 4 good days, and then she has an episode again.
And that pattern will continue. And pretty soon it won't be 3 or 4 days. It'll be 3, and then it'll be 2 or 3, and then it'll be 2, and then it'll be 1. And pretty soon she won't have any good days.
Yes, that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to scare you. That is the pattern. And we can break that pattern. But if we don't, that's what she's looking at.
I gave him 3 or 4 months. I went to the doctors, and doctors said, what do you think you're doing different that's not helping? And I flipped, man. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Why are we keep taking drugs? You tell me.
Right.
Like, what do you think? I'm the father here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to keep my kid healthy and safe. You tell me what you're doing. You don't even know my daughter. I know my kid, right? You tell me what you're doing wrong. Why aren't your drugs working?
Well, they don't work. They're never going to work. They don't work in any case, and they're never going to. It doesn't address the root cause of the problem. The drug is a big Band-Aid that sometimes makes people feel a little bit better. But that won't last, and that's why they keep changing drugs. Their solution does not work and never will work.
I basically work for them. I'd go, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. I take my kid up for breakfast in the morning. I take her to the gym. I'm taking her out, trying to get her right. I'm doing all those little things, getting the waitress to give her a comment that she's doing great. And, you know, you're looking great, stuff like all these little things I'm trying to do. Get her to do 20 minutes on the bike. And I'm thinking, you know what? It'll work, but it's not working.
Right. Well, let me help you.
Yes.
If you can make it today, I'm going to put you back on hold. And I know I just sprung this on you.
Yep.
If you need time to think about it, that's fine. I'm going to put you back on hold, and I'm going to have Brittany get it set up so that if you want to join my coaching call today, you can.
No, that'd be appreciated. I'm like for me to just keep, I'm not going to give up, right? So basically, I just want to try everything possible. I let the medical system do their thing, and it's been 4 months, and I can't see my kid like this anymore, man.
Give me a chance.
Definitely, Kevin. You changed my life on the road, man.
Fantastic. I'm gonna
much appreciated. Much appreciated.
You're welcome. I'm going to put you back on hold, Brittany. If you could get him set up for the coaching call today, I would appreciate that. Let's go to Texas. Mark, welcome to the program.
It was a pleasure hanging out with you.
Yes, it was. It was too short.
It was. Look forward to next year because I'll be back. I had that kind of covers NASTIC right there because there's not much left. I got 2 other topics that I thought about while I was on hold. One of them is a book about what's going on right now, and the other one was about that last caller. And both of them are the books I'm trying to get through right now. The health book I'm trying to get through right now is the Niacin, The Real Story by Abram Hoffer.
Oh,
He's the main author. And of course, he's deceased. And one of the most poignant things he says in there is there is no mental illness caused by a lack of a nutrient. I mean, excuse me, I completely butchered that. There is no mental illness caused by a missing drug. It's a lack of a nutrient. And for him, he says it's niacin in high doses. So, because, you know, you see all of these with people that have mental illness and, you know, what's going on with that kid and all that. And they want to prescribe a drug, you know, the SSR and all like that. Well, he said back then that, you know, the pharmaceutical industry, and this is back when he's deceased. He lived to be 90 something, and anybody can look him up. I mean, he was famous, and he's kind of right up there with Linus Pauling. But he was a regular doctor, but he said niacin was one of the best supplements that most people are missing out on. So, but yeah, that they try to prescribe a drug when it's just nutrients that's missing that causes that. So the second thing is a book that I was listening to. If you go ahead and you go ahead and comment on that, but then I get the other book.
No, go ahead. My comment wasn't all that insightful anyway, so go ahead.
Okay. So I was at 11,500 feet trying to sleep Sunday night. That was Sunday night. And I'm having trouble sleeping. I think I ate something wrong during the day or whatever. I had a book going because I didn't have no internet connections. I had a book going on Audible. And it's a book that I got a while back, and I finally started to listen to it. And it's called The Changing World Order by Ray Dalio. You familiar with that?
I am. I've read that one.
Oh, you read it? Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a really interesting book, and it covers a lot and a lot of history and all like that. So I guess there's not much else to say since you read the book, so since you know what it's all about. But I think it's a very interesting book for these times right now.
It is.
So,
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, he covers in there, one of the things he said, right now I'm on the rise and fall of the British Empire. Because, it was like before our reserve currency, our dollar was a reserve currency, was the British pound. And before that, it was whatever the Dutch is. But one of the things he said in there, he was talking about how nations rise and fall. It all has to do with economics, because a certain amount of people get really rich, and then the poor get really jealous, and then it was the rise in populism, which is what we see today. And one of the things he said about the rise in populism is that when it's conservative rise in populism, it's considered fascism. When it's a left rise in populism, it's considered communist. And both are destructive. So, and that's kind of what, and it always falls to a charismatic leader that everybody is drawn to. And we can kind of see that right now with certain people out there.
Yep.
That they get a charismatic that tells people what they want to hear, and they all like it. And then when they get that person turns into a real authoritarian, and bad things happen. Yep. And, until they don't happen, and then everything starts all over again, because it's a cycle that's happened through history. Before there were even countries, there were just tribes out there, and it was just this is a cycle that just happened through history, and we're in the middle of it. So,
and it's not going to stop. It's human nature. I was just talking about
what's happening.
I was just talking about this morning, and we were going through, like I said, I want to keep building on the content we provide, and I'm about maxed out. I mean, I can't do many more shows. I want to bring the spaces back. I've got the group coaching. I mean, if we're going to expand content, it's going to have to be content other than just me creating or our team creating. So I'm looking around, and that's why I'm at this industry, and I met people like Adam and Alex, who I still need to talk to. But we got talking about, I hate this word. I wish we could come up with something better. I used to like it. Now it's been so bastardized. Influencer. I just kind of hate the word, but it's the only one that people understand what you're talking about. But we were looking at all the influencers you might find in the trucking industry in different platforms. And this is my opinion. It may sound really egotistical, but there seems to be a pretty clear pattern. I'll use somebody other than myself so it doesn't sound so egotistical. Adam has a really tough time building a following. He works hard at it. It's growing. He's been doing it for years. He said he's been doing this 20-some years. He's on Twitter, and I know he's not real active on there, but he doesn't have hardly any following at all there. And yet I look around at TikTok, Instagram, places that I didn't think were good places to be for business. They're not really like business platforms. And yet I see people doing stuff in trucking that in my opinion, other than maybe entertainment, and I get that, entertainment's important too, I see people spouting some total bullshit. I mean, stuff that doesn't even work is never going to work. And if they pander to the negative, they build followings really fast. And I look at that and think,
correct.
Why is this? What, hell, I can bust my ass and not get 1/10 of the following some of these guys have, and all they're spouting is a bunch of negative bullshit. And when they do try to give advice, it's exactly wrong. And yet they're able to build big followings.
And the reason is they're telling people what they want to hear, and it's a lie.
Yeah.
But people believe it because they make it sound like the road to success is easy when it really isn't.
It's never going to be.
Some people, it's not, because there's a learning process. You have to make mistakes and learn not to do that again. And then, and when you encounter something, it's like maybe you make the right decision, but then you encounter it again and you make the wrong decision. And people are drawn to the fact that they get out there, for example, on YouTube, there's several videos or several channels on YouTube for years that were talking about hot shot. Get in hot shot, make $1 million. Well, they had huge followings because people believe, I can just buy a pickup truck, make $1 million.
But
but it's like, they get these followings because they tell people what they want to hear, and it's not educational.
Here's another great example that we're all familiar with. From what I understand, Noah has 40,000 members on Facebook.
I'm not sure who that account is. I haven't looked, but I'll run it down, take a look at it.
Yeah,
it's on Facebook. I haven't looked on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm not on Facebook anymore, but I've heard 30,000, 40,000, and that's their membership that they claim. It's in a group. It's not really paid members in their association, but I think they have built those kinds of numbers on Facebook. Hell, I can't do that in 2 years.
I'm gonna make a comment right now about something on Facebook about this certain group, and it's they're all concerned with the rates and all like that, and it's a freight side, but I'm in it, and I was talking to a guy in there last night. And he basically accused me of spreading your bullshit. And
that's what I mean.
I told him he needed to pay attention to the customers now. But the leader of that group, who's a huge grifter,
yes,
I've seen him in there say, you do not build relationships with customers because you cannot trust them. And he tells those people in there to go out and do it with the highest rate. And I'm sitting there looking at that that's not going to work. That's only a short term. They're feeling it right now. But he uses those people to sell mud flap. He sells a factory. He's one of these influencers that he goes out there and gets these deals where people sign up for him and he gets a cut of it.
Yeah.
So
I know.
That's a prime. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
So,
technically.
And he pushes that other board. He pushes that other board because there was a truckstop.com got on there this morning and said, we've detected over 7,000 fraud cases or whatever. We've rejected all the other ones combined have only done 2 or 3. And Craig Fuller, said, who is that he's talking about? And I just put down there, who dat? That's my hand anyway.
Who dat? Yeah.
Yeah. And, I was just being kind of a smart ass using the acronym of some of the other board. But when you can see through the bullshit, and know how it really is, and you see how they are, it's and it goes back to that whole thing, Ray Dalio, Changing World Order, where it talks about society, where it's the haves, and they call it the haves, the have-nots, the people that, the separation of income, the people on the lower end get all jealous, and they're jealous is what it is, of people who have made good decisions, and they want to come take that from them for themselves. And it's happened all through society.
Yeah,
through different through the whole civilization.
One more comment about business being hard, and then I got to move along. I do have to get on the road here in a couple minutes. Here's why business is hard, and it's always going to be hard. When you succeed at business, the rewards are incredible. I mean, it's virtually unlimited. People now earn billions of dollars because they started a business. That's the potential. So in reality, the rewards in business are even bigger than anything else. Taylor Swift was the first celebrity, I think, that ever reached $1 billion valuation. It happens in business all the time.
Well, actually, there was one. Actually, Jimmy Buffett did that before he died, but he used Margaritaville to license out and just a killing off of that.
Let me tell you something, though. He was an awesome entertainer, he was a really smart businessman. He had both. And I think
He was.
Taylor Swift is too, or somebody on her team is. Because
He does.
Yeah, somebody in that organization
She's
understands
so many
business.
different. I listened to her talk. Yeah, I
Right.
think she understood it from right off the
So-
get-go.
So if we think about that, we know how hard it is to get a scholarship into a good college in sports. It's highly competitive. We know the odds of making it out of that college and becoming a professional paid player. The odds are astronomical, but the rewards are huge if you make it. Business has the opportunity for even bigger rewards than celebrities and stars and athletes. But there's so much competition in business that's never going away. People understand what the potential rewards are. Business will always be hard because business is extremely competitive at every level.
And because of that, people look for shortcuts.
Yes, yeah, and shortcuts will almost always lead to failure. So I do have to cut you loose because I will just keep talking. I want to knock out a couple more calls. I am going to turn off the phone lines. I think I've got 3 calls. If you're in the queue, I will get to you. Let's go to Montana. Tom, welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning, Kevin. Hey, congratulations on your coin and your trip. It sounds like it's really bearing fruit.
Thank you.
I don't know how long I'll have you before the phone drops. I'm in the middle of nowhere. My original call was that the government and how they overpay for everything. And anyways, there's the GSA auctions that you see on there. You're aware of. We talked about it before, where the government sells off their surplus stuff.
Right.
A couple Oshkoshes on there yesterday that had one of them had to get 58 miles, 4 hours left on it, and it was a 3-axle M1070, you know.
Okay.
And there's one on truck paper going for $185,000. The bid was like $8,500. Had less than like 300 miles on it, 400 hours on the thing, you know. The big old huge things. So anybody that it was sort of a PSA. Anybody out there that does heavy hauling, that even I don't even know that they can use those. The Detroit Motor, and it's got to be worth more than what they're selling them for, though. And so that was that. But then the guy called about his daughter. Now that's just heartbreaking. You know, our government is not here to help us at all. And the only advice that I could possibly have for him is to, if he's going to take her off medication, don't let the doctors know. The government's coming in and snatching people's kids up, giving them surgeries, making them go on drugs, and just be careful with that route. But I would think to get her off of all social media if you can would probably be the first step to helping too, you know?
Yeah. One of the things that I need to be aware of when I work with somebody like this, there are behavioral things that can help people with anxiety. So I'm not going to say that, counseling or things like that don't work, although their track record is not very good. And counseling alone would never, ever be enough. They have some techniques that can help reduce anxiety. I don't understand the behavioral side enough to even address it. I think, like you do, that social media is horrible for these kids. I think it creates tons of anxiety. But there's also sometimes you got to be careful. Maybe she derives some comfort from some of it. So if I'm not fully confident in what I'm doing that it really works, I would just rather stay away from it. So I'm going to really hit the nutritional side hard because I know that one. I'm confident. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know what results I should see. If I don't see the results, I know how to fix it. The behavioral side, I'm lost. I don't understand any of that stuff. Talk therapy to me has never made a whole lot of sense. But I also don't want to say that it can't help, because I think a good counselor can give people some tools and some techniques that will never fix the problem, but can relieve some of the symptoms, which can be powerful. I'd much rather have something like that than a drug trying to relieve the symptom.
No, we're totally on the same page with that. I mean, the nutrition can only help; it can't hurt. And then I have one more story about our wonderful medical system. So about 3 weeks ago, I was going to run a bath at a hotel in Las Vegas, nice hotel. So I turned on the water, walked back in there, and the water had splashed on the floor, and I took a bad spill, real bad, and came down 3 ribs, hurt my shoulder a little bit. And then 2 days later, my knee blows up twice its size. Most pain that remember we were talking about gout pain, which wasn't comfortable at all, but this was the most pain that I've ever been in my entire life. So after 2 days of not being able to sleep, I finally just went to the emergency room, which I've never done in my entire life.
Wow.
And I know it's going to be expensive, and I know I'm going to be paying it off, right? But so I roll in there, and the guy takes x-rays, says, yeah, there's nothing we can do about your ribs, your knee, put me in I think it was an MRI, don't see anything, gives me 5 milligrams of Oxycontin and 500 milligrams of Tylenol, basically. And they kicked me out. So I get the bill, and I'm talking to the guy, I said, hey, there's fluid. You just told me there's fluid under the knee. It's not blood. I said, tap it. He says, well, we don't have a surgery room here, blah, 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 blah. I said, I used to work with horses in New Mexico, and the trainer would spray it with Lysol, wipe it with a paper towel, and tap it. I said, just tap the damn thing. Oh, I can't do that. It'll relieve the pressure, but it'll go down. I said, Doc, I'm in pain. You don't understand. And you give me 5 milligrams of this shit. It's doing nothing,
Right.
And so, anyway, I get the bill. I'm there maybe 2 hours, right? Guess how much the bill is?
I don't even want to try to guess.
It's over $20,000 for the ER, okay, and that's not including the doctor.
All we need is one example like that to know our medical system is so horribly broken that I don't even know what we do with it. That is so illogical, nonsensical, and we can't live like that. We can't operate with a medical system that charges insane rates and makes everybody sicker.
And at the start of the year, I went on the Obamacare website, and they had this thing where I'd have to pay $300 a month my deductible. So I'm responsible for the first, I don't know, $42,000 or something like that. And I'm all like, well, geez, the only thing that's going to happen to me pretty much is going to be a heart attack or something like that. And either I'll make it or I won't make it. Not looking that I'm going to fall down in the bathroom like an old man.
I know.
And I'm 57. So I get a phone call from a lady that was referred to from, I didn't instigate this call, from a lady that works through some government agency to see if she can help me with the bill. Gives me a bunch of questions. Do you have a job? I said, yeah, I'm not working right now because I can't walk, blah, blah, blah. Do you pay taxes? Do you own your home? Well, oh, yeah, well, I'm sorry. I can hear her punching in the computer. Yeah, we can't help you. I'm all like, yeah, if I knew Spanish, and then I just told them my name is Juan, I wouldn't have a bill for $20-something thousand. And this is just out of hand, man. Just out of hand.
I know.
Anyway, that's my story,
Yeah, it's a mess. All right, Tom, good hearing from you. I'm going to take this last call. I think there are people standing outside waiting. Let's go to Nebraska. Paul, welcome.
Hey, Kevin. I just wanted to go over my oil sample with you real quick. It's my second one with this truck.
And we don't need to rush.
No worries.
Let's see. So we are looking at a Volvo. What year?
20.
Are you using Catalyst?
Yes, sir, I am. And ignore that 11 gallons added. I had a hiccup when I was filling it out. I didn't add any gallons.
All right. So when we've got 40,000 miles on the oil, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is actually a really good sample. I see nothing in here I would be concerned about at all. No, your silicon's only 7. You're fine.
Oh, I thought it said it was 10.
No, it's 7 on the sample I'm looking at, and 7's fine.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the 10 one.
No, it's so I'll address the things they did flag. The iron is flagged at a level 1. It's because of the catalyst. It doesn't hurt a thing, so ignore that one completely. The next thing in yellow was boron. Ignore it completely. It means absolutely nothing. The only one I'm concerned about, and it's a super easy problem to fix, is you are low on base. And after 40,000 miles, that is, we're pushing these engines farther and farther and farther on oil changes, which is awesome. We need more base in some of these oils. I hope the oil companies catch on and start adding a little base. But the good news is you can just add it yourself. I think Pittsburgh Power now sells a base additive.
Okay, the only thing I was worried about was from listening, I was trying to remember what the coolant was because I only had to add not even a gallon of coolant, and I thought I saw and remembered hearing something. So that's what I was worried about.
No, so the way we detect coolant in oil is by watching for both sodium and potassium at the same time, and those numbers need to get pretty high up into the double digits. Almost triple digits before it really tells us that there's an internal leak, and you are low. You're like 3 and 6. That's absolutely nothing on sodium. You have no coolant in this oil whatsoever.
Okay, and since I bought this truck in February, I haven't had an overhead ran on it with these samples, and I was looking at the fuel dilution. I don't think I would do it, but eventually I will. I was just needed to talk to or get a hold of Joel on social media. I know he said there was a couple things to make sure you do when you run it.
Yes, yeah, and he'll pitch you exactly, what to tell the shop, what to ask them, so you know that they're understanding it and they're going to do it right. But as far as the oil sample, this looks really clean.
Okay, and I just had another quick question about Nastic. Are they open to lease on drivers that don't have their own authority?
Nastic is not a trucking company. Nastic is an association that.
I said the association. Yeah.
May ask.
Do they take on lease on operators?
Oh, okay. They do, but. And I'm gonna get some clarification on this from David this weekend because I'm not sure if they've changed the policy on this or not. Call them though, and they'll explain it to you. The answer is yes. At one time, I know if you had less than 5 trucks or you didn't have your authority, you had to attend their new entrance training first. Now, I think they might be doing something a little different. I think I heard somebody say that you can join right away. And if you take the course, there's a bonus or a discount or something. I don't remember. I want to get the details on that. But that you can join, so you should call them and they'll explain it to you. If by chance you decide to take their new entrance training program, which is an excellent one-day program, if you could make it there on December 8th, which is their next class, I'll be at that class.
Awesome. Okay. And I've been doing a lot of hard work on my numbers, and just a quick overview. I'm grossing $237 a mile, and I got my profit to $105.
Fantastic. That is, congratulations. Those are really good numbers.
And I just want to say thank you for all that you give everybody, the knowledge. That's where it is. And I just wanted to thank you again.
Well, you are welcome. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it. All right, we've got to wrap this up. I got all kinds of people beating on my door and sending me text and asking what's going on. And I got to get out of here. Brent Hutto and I, Brent from truckstop.com, Brent's going to join me. I'm going to drop him off. His car is in Birmingham at the airport. And instead of him waiting all day to get a flight down to Birmingham, it's only a 2.5-hour drive, and I'm going that way anyway. So Brent and I are going to hang out. We may even, I don't know, we may shoot some videos. We may put up some content. I'm sure we'll come up with all kinds of ideas, and I'll let you know what comes of that. Thanks for joining me today. Wondering if I should call an audible today. No, I'll do the show tomorrow. I'll just make it happen. We will see you back here tomorrow. Be safe, be profitable, be fit and healthy. Always do the hard work and master the journey.